How you price your home to sell can make or break your net proceeds at the end of your transaction. There are a couple of factors that you truly need to take into consideration when you're selling your home that if you don't, you can end up losing money in the long run. So let's talk about how to avoid that. Hey, it's the RT Realtor here, Glaze Johnson with artformhomes, broken by EXP Realty, and y'all, it is late at night, and I am finally getting this video recorded. It's been a super busy week, good busy, but busy nonetheless. And my son is finally asleep, and my husband's finally home. And I said, if I don't do this right now, it will not get done. It is Friday, and these videos are supposed to go up on Thursday, so I'm super late. But anywho, we're gonna get to it. So I wanted to take a deeper dive into pricing when it comes to listing your home on the market, because a lot of times this can be a point of, I guess, conflict between agents and sellers for obvious reasons of, I would say obvious, because it's just a matter of different opinions. You think the house is worth one thing and it seems like your agent thinks it's worth another. So I wanted to take a stab at discussing it in a no pressure environment. I am not your agent. I'm not sitting in front of you on your couch getting ready to put my sign in the yard. We just having a conversation. You scrolling through, videos, trying to kind of get your research down. We just having a conversation. No pressure. I want to talk about why it's important that you not rely on assumption and desire to price your home, and how doing so can kind of cause you to lose a little bit of money in the long run. So first things first, pricing is not necessarily an exact science, but it is something that involves a lot of research and strategy. If you make assumptions based on the sales of one or two houses in your neighborhood, you'll end up doing yourself a huge disservice, because there are a lot of factors you've got to take into consideration for why your neighbor's home sold for what it did. The condition, square footage, the floor plan and design, upgrades your neighbor might have made, certain unique features in the house, like a really cool backyard landscaping job or a new deck, things that you do not have on your house. And even though those things are external and aren't a part of, the square footage that'll be accounted for the value, in the long run, they're great points of attractiveness for buyers. It's gonna make buyers flock. And when buyers flock, they're gonna compete. And when they compete, the sale price is gonna go up. So those are things that they ultimately contribute to the sale price, not necessarily the value. If your home is not identical to your neighbors in that regard, with all of those features in play, then it's not necessarily safe to assume that you're going to have the same sale experience that your neighbor did for that price. So it's important to do research regarding your entire market as it pertains to your house. There's two ways for you to develop a solid price for your home, to kind of figure out what's going to be the most comparable price that you can place on your home for it to sell. First thing you're going to need to do is, it's not what you need to do, but what you can do is get an appraisal. So with an appraisal, an appraiser is going to come to your home. It's going to take a look at your home's features and conditions, and then it's going to set that up against your closest comparable properties. Comparable meaning they're the same bedroom count, the same bathroom count, the same features, the closest to the same design, around similar square footage, similar age. They're gonna try to get this home, they're gonna try to get the most similar homes to your homes to compare, so that they can kind of figure out what's gonna be an accurate price. Now notice I said closest comparable properties, meaning if you're looking at a house that's like, 3 miles away from you, that's practically in a different neighborhood almost, or in a whole different community that doesn't have anything close to the design of your home, that's not going to be a comparable property, even though, essentially it's not that far away. So they're going to look at, if they can get the houses next door, or if they can get houses like 2 or 3 doors down, those are the houses they're going to look at. They're also going to have a time frame of how far back they're going to go in the listing status. So they're not going to look at homes that sold 5-10 years ago, because that market is irrelevant. That market is not the market we have now. They're gonna try to go back. They're gonna try to stay at least about 6 months behind. They're gonna, if they have to, depending on the market that you're in, they gotta go back 12, maybe 18 months. You know, maximum they may go back is 2 years. They're not gonna go no further than that. But they're gonna try to keep it to within the last 6 months, the closest comparable homes that have sold in your area, to help determine what they will yield as their official opinion of the value of their home. And because they are the appraiser, their word kind of becomes law as far as what your price tag on your home is. You are an owner, a homeowner, so that means you have purchased a home before, so you know, especially if you got it financed, that an appraisal actually determines how much a lender is going to lend to you. So appraisals are crucial in that regard, because you think about it. Let's say you pursue an appraisal before you know, as you're getting ready to list the home and list for a price, you can somewhat trust that you are somewhere in a decent ballpark as far as what your home's going to sell for, because you know, you got an appraisal, you know that most likely the buyers that come in, you're going to help diminish your likelihood that, you know, contracts are going to cancel. Now, I will say this. Your buyer is going to be required to get an appraisal as well, and it could be a chance where there's a difference of opinion, and you can always ask your seller to present this appraisal, especially if it was recent, as a counter to that initial appraisal as a second opinion if you wanted to. But know that you do diminish the likelihood because you are choosing to price based on what an official appraiser has come in and deemed your home's value as. Another way to get a solid price on your home is to have an agent run a CMA, or a comparative market analysis. With a comparative market analysis, we're essentially doing the same exact thing, where we're finding the closest comparable houses and looking at their average price point to kind of pinpoint what's going to be a good estimated price for you. Now, we are not appraisers, so we do not have the certification or the licensing or any of that to be the end-all be-all price determining factor. I know that was a lot of words together, sorry. But we're not appraisers. So the appraiser has the final say. What we will do is come up with is a close estimate of what your price and what your home will end up being worth. In addition to that, though, we're also going to be able to give you a lot of market trends. We have access to, through our licenses and through the annual fees that we pay, we have access to a bunch of resources that help us look at research market trends, like the Realtor Property Resource, the MLS. I particularly use a platform called Dash CMA, which allows you to put your comparative properties onto a pricing scale, so you can kind of see where the homes are starting to bunch up as far as what price trend is kind of taking hold of the market. So you know, if you put your price point right smack in the middle of that situation, you'll be doing good. So yeah, we have tools to kind of help you help determine trends that are happening in your market. A lot of important things to know is about your average days on market, to know how long homes are typically on the market before they go on the contract. That's important to know, so you can have an expectation of how long you'll be on the market, or you can kind of tell if you're kind of pushing outside of the norm, what's going on in your situation to where you're not within the average time frame. We can also tell you about list to sell ratios or list to sell pricing trends, whether or not the sell price ends up being higher normally than the list price, or vice versa. That's important to know. Is the market, I guess, essentially humbling ambitious sellers, or is it actually pushing up a little bit to where if you price it a certain way, you can guarantee, almost guarantee, not completely, but almost guarantee that it's going to end up going up, because maybe you're in a hot market that constantly gets competition from buyers and is constantly shooting up your price. So you're starting out here in one number and you end up in a different number because there's so much competition. That's important to know if that's a trend in your market area. Another thing is that you can determine the average price per square footage in your market area. This is also a great way to help you price your home, because usually you're not going to have the exact same number of square feet as as the next house. And so you can look at the average price per square footage and just apply that to your individual house, and that can maybe bust you out a solid price, and you can utilize that. Again, it's all strategy. Another thing is determining if general prices are increasing or decreasing, and if they can let you know if the market is starting to stabilize, or especially if those days on market start to get a little bit longer. It can all these things can just inform what's happening in your market. They can also inform how you price your home, to be competitive and to allow the results to be what you want them to be. So research is crucial if you want to get this thing right. It is crucial. Another thing that's crucial with pricing is strategy, and just a willingness and an openness to be flexible, and to shift in order to accommodate things once you see how buyers are behaving with your property. The ultimate goal is to get your house sold as quickly as possible for the highest possible price. If a week goes by and you don't have any offers, or even more so any showings, then it's important to go back to the drawing board with your agent and figure out what kind of shift needs to happen. More than likely it's going to be a price decrease, because maybe the condition of your home is not matching the price that you're putting out there. Who knows? But you need to go back to a drawing board with your agent. You need to talk strategy. You need to figure out what needs to happen. And maybe it may not be a price decrease. Maybe you could upgrade some things, and then that can be added to, refreshed in the description. Who knows? But you need to you need to figure out how to keep your days on market low. So be willing, be open, be flexible. Because the longer that you're on the market, the less amount of money you end up making in the end of it. Because eventually your home starts to become stigmatized. It's looked at as, okay, it's been on the market for a little while, there must be something wrong. Buyers gonna be like, okay, they're gonna come in and try to lowball you. And there's nothing to be offended about. You see a house on the market for a long time, it's already expensive endeavor. You're gonna try to save as much money as you possibly can. So to think about it from that position, you want to keep the leverage. It's all about the leverage. Before I move on to my next point, I do want to mention that this is not about, if you, as far as your price, that you can afford to price it at a certain point. Like, you would end up owing more than the house is worth if you priced it below this particular number, and that doesn't match up with what the market is saying you got to price it for. Completely different conversation, completely different day. This is just about getting you more or less money in your proceeds, in a normal situation. Not if you cannot afford it and you may be upside down and you need to price it at a certain point. Not talking to you. Not the same situation. So quick recap: acquire the means to do adequate research on your property, whether it's getting an appraisal or having an agent run a CMA. Be willing to strategize, be open, be flexible to shift, depending on how your buyers are behaving with your property. And I'm gonna add a bonus. Last thing is just trust your agent. First of all, get an agent that you actually trust, but once you get that agent, trust them. It is not in our, it's not beneficial to us to try to get you to sell it for super cheap just to get it sold. Remember, commissions are percentage based. So the higher the price point, the higher our commission. It wouldn't serve us to try to make you sell it for cheap. So, if you have a conversation with an agent and they're telling you, based on the data, what they think the best, when they advise what the best price may be, to be competitive, and it feels like it's lower than what you desire, they're not trying to get you to, they're not trying to be grimy with you. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't do them disservice to be careless with your pricing. It doesn't do good for your morale. It doesn't do good for your motivation to work with them again or refer them. There's no benefit to trying to get you to just sell your house for cheap just to say we got it sold. That is not the priority. Any agent that's worth their salt, their goal, once again, is going to be to get your house sold as quickly as possible for the highest amount of money possible. But keep in mind, they've got to balance pricing desires with the current market trends as well as the current condition of your property. They got to do that balancing act. So just know, the price that they present to you, price that your agent presents to you, that we present to you, is going to be backed by market research. And what the data is telling us is going to be the most beneficial price. And know that the choice is still completely yours. You know, we cannot force you to do anything with your home. You know, we are just utilizing our expertise to advise you on what's the best plan of action, but the choice is completely yours. You can do whatever you want, and it is our obligation to be obedient to what your wishes are. Check out last week's video where I did a deep dive into pre-listing inspections and why I think even in this market, they are a worthy investment to help you gain even more money in your net proceeds. As usual, all of my contact information is in my description box. If you're thinking about selling your home this year and you've got questions, I'm happy to chat with you and get all of those questions answered. But that is all I have for today. Much love, take care, and I will talk to you later.